Welcome back to Joe Stunner Boxing. You know, we hear a lot about away fighters travelling thousands of miles sometimes to Britain or any country, and you know, they have to knock them out to get a draw, is the old joke, and you know, close fights never go the visitor's way. Well, we got a rarity tonight. Luis Alberto Lopez is the new IBF featherweight champ. He scored a majority decision in a very, very close fight over JOSH Warrington in Leeds, of all places. Warrington regards Leeds as his fortress. He's got this army of fans, and it was a tough fight, a grueling fight, and Josh lost. I mean, now, the judges, two of them had it 115, 113. Can't argue with that. I wouldn't argue if it had gone 115, 113 Josh's way. Howard Foster, who I almost never agree with on anything, he had it 114, 114, and that's what I had it, watching it live. And believe it or not, another person I don't always agree with, Tony Bellew, he had it 114, 114 as well. So, and it was one of those fights. It was a grueling, close, scrappy fight with scrappy. Yeah, it was scrappy. It was kind of a, you know, a tumultuous sort of mauling fight. And that's not to say that it was completely void of skill, but you've got Luis Alberto Lopez, who is an extremely unorthodox fighter. Sometimes he stands in front of you with his hands up. Other times he's doing lots of sidestepping, lots of half pivots, and with his hands very low and firing punches from his hips. And Warrington, a far more conventional textbook fighter, but he likes to get stuck in. Warrington doesn't have a lot of knockouts on his record. I mean, he's now 31 wins with eight KOs, 2 defeats, 1 by stoppage. Lara knocked him out, and he's got a draw in there somewhere as well. But he likes to have a good punch up, Warrington, and he did. Now, let me say this, and I'm going to be frank with you here, right? Josh Warrington is a dirty fighter. I've thought that for years, all right? He is a dirty fighter. He said afterwards about the stigma, saying that no, it's not stigma, mate. It's the fact that you are a dirty fighter, okay? We know about the dark arts. If you've been anywhere near a boxing gym, done any boxing training, your trainers may usually talk about the dark arts. And one of those dark arts is when you throw your backhand and you swing it as a hook, you follow through with the head. It's basic dark art stuff, but and it's cheating, essentially. And I've always thought this about Warrington. Holyfield used to do this an awful lot. He was a terrible cheat, terribly rough, terribly tough, terribly dirty. And Warrington is the same thing. And in the second round, I mean, the first round I gave the first round to Lopez. I thought he had that unconventional slippy slidey style and lots of punches from weird angles. And I thought, did he land a body punch in the first round? But he got the attention of Warrington, and Warrington did have the air in the first round. I don't know whether this was from the opening bell. Maybe he went into the fight thinking this, or whether he felt some power in the first round. But he looked a little bit like, I'm not going to get into a firefight with this guy just yet, because he made that mistake against Mauricio Lara in their first fight and got knocked flat. But in the second round, there was that head use, and you train to do it. Okay, don't give me this crap about, no, it's an accident. No, it's not an accident all the time. Accidents are rarities, right? If you run across the road without looking both ways and you get knocked down, and the next time you run across the road and get knocked down, and then you run across the road again and get knocked down, it's because you're doing the same thing wrong, okay? And yeah, in the second round, Warrington threw that right hand, is followed through with a head, banged it onto Lopez's eye. There was a slice just under the just under the eyebrow and above the eyelid, and Lopez was playing up to it. He was going in. He actually said after in his post-fight interview, well, I knew Warrington was a dirty fighter, and he was playing up to it. He's, what's going on? I don't speak Spanish, but he was showing out to the referee, but with good reason. The guy's headbutted you, so you're entitled to do that. If you want to fight dirty, I'm going to play up. I'm going to plead my case to the referee. But the first 6 rounds, I thought most of them, even though they were scrappy rounds, but I thought Lopez was always a step ahead, or a stutter step ahead, maybe. He was giving Warrington too much to think about. You could tell with Warrington he was trying to figure the guy out, and while he was doing that, Lopez was landing the more telling punches, and he was landing first. And Warrington was landing his own punches. Don't get me wrong; he wasn't like frozen. He was going forward and trying to land his own punches, but he couldn't find any kind of rhythm, and he couldn't really control the distance. And Lopez, I felt, for the first 6 rounds at least, maybe the first 8, for the majority of that time, looked to me more like the guy who was in control. And he was taking punches though. In the 6th round, was it? No, hang on, I can't remember what round it was. Was it the 6th round? There was I may have the round wrong. It may be 6, 7, 8, one of those rounds. Warrington landed a punch around the back on the, I suppose it was the top of the buttock, maybe the hip area, and the referee stepped in. It was a genuine foul again. But again, we had Lopez showing out, goes to the ropes, leans over them. Oh, I'm in such agony, and he may have been hurt. It was a foul. He may well have been genuinely hurt, but the refs, eventually they go back into it. But that showing out kind of thing pepped Warrington up quite a bit, and for the second half of the fight, he crept back into it very much so, and so you could say this fight was 2 halves. It's a game of 2 halves, Brian, the old football cliche. And Warrington was creeping back into it and finding, he was the guy punching first, and he was the guy finding a bit of rhythm, albeit as kind of a staccatoed one, and he was the guy who was able to punch first, get closer, and do things on his terms more. Ring generalship improved from Warrington. Lopez, a little bit more reticent, a bit more reluctant to be the aggressor, to fire first. And come the 11th and 12th round, I mean, it was, I still had, I had Lopez 2 points up after 10, but there's without question Warrington in the championship rounds dominated, and in the 11th and 12th he really put it on Lopez. In the 11th he landed an excellent left hook which shook Lopez and really gave him something to think about. But Warrington was behaving like a champion should. Warrington he kind of knew he was behind, and he thought, I'm going to give you heat. I'm going to put it on you. No way am I waking up tomorrow morning and thinking I should have done X, Y, Z. No. We're leaving it here in the ring. In the 11th round, I was thinking to myself, okay, I've got Lopez 1 point up, but he could, if Warrington gets this, it's a draw. Lopez needs to make a statement. In fact, it was Warrington that made the statement. Warrington got stuck into Lopez, ragdolled him a little bit. Always punchy. By this point, all the meaningful punches were coming from Warrington. If this was an old 15-rounder, you'd definitely favour Warrington, definitely, because Lopez to me looked kind of out of ideas, and like he seemed to be under the impression that he'd won the fight in the first half of the fight, first 6 rounds, first 8 rounds maybe, but he'd allowed Warrington back into it. And I think Andy Lee, who really is a very, very good commentator, he said to Mike Costello, if Lopez loses this, he's going to wake up tomorrow and think, I should have done more. I lost it rather than Warrington winning it. And at the conclusion, I was thinking, even though I had it 114, I'm thinking, Warrington's probably got this. It's in Leeds, he's probably won a 115, 113 fight. And I wouldn't have complained if the scores had been that way. In fact, the 115, 113s, 2 of them went to Lopez. And although you can argue, and I'm sure Warrington's fans will argue, Warrington deserved to win, a draw or 2 points either way, you cannot complain about that. And let's put a little bit of respect on Lopez's name, because although he's an awkward bugger and not really a great, he hasn't got a great style, but he's tough as old boots, and he's just got that Mexican will to win. He's done it on the road. I mean, he came over a year ago, almost a year to the day ago, I think, maybe a year and a week ago, something like that. And he fought Isaac Lowe, who was undefeated, 21 wins, no defeats and 3 draws. And he battered Isaac Lowe and stopped him in 7. And opportunities for a lot of these Mexican guys are quite few and far between. They have to take them on the road. And this guy's done that. He came back to England a year later, went into Josh Warrington's backyard, literally, and beat the guy. So although I can understand, the annoyance of the Warrington lot saying, come on, man, our guy edged it. Okay, maybe he did. But I still respect Lopez as the new champion. And I don't see a problem. I have no problem with these two being matched again. They're talking about putting Leigh Wood in with Warrington. Or Eddie Hearn mentioned something about that post-fight. But I think, you know, Lopez and Warrington again, I wouldn't object to that. I think that's potentially a good fight. You know? I repeat, I don't think it would be like even though this was actually an action-packed fight, even though it's so scrappy and so difficult to score. But a rematch, I think that would be a good fight too. Yeah, I do. Yeah. Would Lopez come back? You put enough money on the table, he will, yeah. But does Eddie Hearn want Warrington to go down that path? I don't know what the contractual situation is with Warrington and Hearn anyway. I mean, Lopez, what is he, 29? Whereas Warrington, I think, is 31 or 32 maybe now. Yeah, why not? Why not a rematch? Why not a rematch? Or, you know, why not? Why doesn't Warrington go to Mexico maybe? Because Hearn and DAZN promote cards in Mexico. Why not Warrington going to Mexico? Fight Lara in Mexico. Not Lara, Lopez in Mexico. Lopez came over here. He did the business here. So, you know, put some respect on his name for that. Now let's see Warrington go abroad. What did you think of this fight? Who did you think won? Very difficult to predict. Very, very difficult to predict. Not to predict a score. I didn't do a prediction video for this actually, but I did think Warrington would win a decision. Maybe 116, 112, 113, 115, 113. And because of Lopez's style, I thought it might be a scrappy affair, but I keep saying a scrappy affair, but there was some entertainment in this fight. What did you think of the fight? What did you think of the decision? Let me know. Leave your comments below. If you're a Leeds Warrington fan, you're going to be disappointed, but there we are. That's life. Yeah, good fight. Good fight. Scrappy, but good. Leave your comments below. Thanks for subscribing. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe. Hit the subscribe button. Takes a second. Hit the subscribe button. Like the video. Hate the video. Hit all them buttons. Just hit the whole damn lot. I don't care. But yeah, comments below. I like reading them. I reply to most of them. And we will speak again soon. In the meantime, bye-bye for now.